This is part 1 of our lesson on perimeter. So perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. We would calculate perimeter if we were trying to find how much trim needed to go around the outside of a room, or how much fence would go around the outside of a garden, or how much ribbon would go on the outside of a box. So perimeter is simply just the distance around the outside of a shape. When we're calculating perimeter, there are 2 things that we're going to do. Number 1, if it is a straight-sided shape, so if the sides of the shape are straight lines, we are going to just add up all of our outside sides or outside edges. If the shape happens to be a circle or part of the shape is a circle, there are formulas for how you calculate the perimeter of a circle. So there's a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. It is called circumference. So you'll notice instead of being P equals here, it is C equals. That's because the name is circumference for the distance around the outside of a circle. There are 2 different ways that you can calculate circumference, right, depending on the information that you have. So on a circle, the distance across the shape, all the way from one side to the other, is called the diameter. And then the distance from the center of the circle to the edge is called the radius. So if you know the diameter, the one going all the way across, I would do pi times the diameter. If I have the radius is half as long as the diameter, so you have to do 2 times pi r to get the circumference. And then pi is the relationship between the circumference of a circle and our radius, and pi equals 3.14159.2653589, keeps going. We are going to try this year in grade 9 to do one of 2 things. Either use 3.14159 when we do our calculations, or use our pi button if you happen to have a scientific calculator. So if you have a scientific calculator, you either have an actual pi button or it will be a second function of one of your buttons. So on this calculator, the pi is right here. It's on the EXP button, and I would press shift or second and then that button to get my pi symbol to show up. So if I try shift and that, you'll notice it has a little pi symbol here, which equals 3.14159. On this calculator, it also does not have its own pi button, but the pi is right there on the EXP button. So same thing, I would do second function and then my EXP button, and it would put in pi for me. And then this calculator, so many choices. This one actually has its own pi button. So if I press the pi button, it puts in my pi symbol, and then when I hit equals, it puts in pi for me. So if you have a pi button on your scientific calculator, I would recommend using that, and if not, I'm going to ask you to use 3.14159. 3.14 is not accurate enough anymore, so I need you to show more decimal places. Okay, we are going to start by calculating the perimeter of 3 shapes. So our question here says, calculate the perimeter of each of the following shapes. Round your final answer to 2 decimal places if necessary. So up first, I have a shape. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. This is actually, I believe, a trapezoid. When I'm doing perimeter, we are going to add together all the outside edges, and we are not including any of the inside edges. So that 7 meters on the inside does not get used. We only use the sides on the outside. So I like to make up a formula when I'm doing one of these questions. So I'm going to say P for perimeter equals, and then I am going to label all of my sides. Now I like to start at the front of the alphabet with A, and then just work my way around. So I like to use uppercase letters as well. So I'm going to do this as side A, B, C, and D. So my perimeter is going to be A plus B plus C plus D. We are just adding all of our sides together. Okay, so I'm going to substitute in all the things that I know. So I know that A is 15 meters, so I'm going to put in 15. B is 13 meters, so I am putting in 13. C is 25 meters, and then D is 9 meters. All right, all I need to do now is just add all of those numbers together. So I'm going to add 15 plus 13 plus 25 plus 9, and I get 62. So my perimeter is 62, and that would be meters because all of the sides are in meters. So if you needed to walk around the outside of this shape, you would walk a total of 62 meters. All right, we're going to take a look at our second shape. The second shape here is a circle. So when I'm looking at the circle, this is the only one where I don't just add the sides together. I need to use one of the two formulas for the circumference or the perimeter of the circle. Now, depending on what information I have is how I choose which one to use. Now, the 75 centimeters goes from the center to the edge. So the center to the edge is the radius, so that's my R. So I am going to choose the formula that uses the radius. So I'm going to do that the circumference, or you could do P for perimeter if you wanted, is 2 times pi times R. And then I am going to substitute in the 75 centimeters. So my circumference is 2 times, and instead of using 3.14159, I am going to use my pi button. But if you want to use 3.14159, you would put that in now. And then the radius is 75. Okay, so we are going to calculate. So I am going to do 2 times, and then I am going to use my pi button. So 2 times pi times 75. And I get that. Right? If I do 2 times 3.14159 times 75, I get an answer that's pretty close. It just doesn't have quite as many decimal points. And you'll notice it gets a little different at the end. So this is 8.5, this one is 8.8. So I am going to round my answer to 2 decimal places. So we're going to keep the 3 after the decimal. And then the next digit is an 8. So if that next digit is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we round up. So this would be 471.24. So my circumference is 471.24 centimeters. I'm going to put a little dot on my equal sign to show that we rounded to get that answer. Okay, there is one last shape in this section, which is the star. Now this shape is a little weird because it has a marking of 10 feet, but I only have one side that's marked. And I also have these little tick marks. So anything that has one tick mark is going to be the same length as this side. So that means this side here is also 10 feet, this one here, 10 feet, this one here, 10 feet. This one here, 10 feet. This one here, 10 feet. That one there, 10 feet. This one here, 10 feet. This one also, 10 feet. And this one here also, 10 feet. All of those sides had a tick mark on them, showing that they were all the same length. So when I go to do the perimeter of this one, I have a choice. I could do A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus G plus H plus I plus J because there's that many sides. Or I could say that they are all the same. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sides that are the same. So I can do 10 times the length of the side. So it's a choice, right? Either add them all up individually, or you can go through and just count how many there are and then multiply by that number. So I think I'm actually just going to label. So I'm going to label this as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. And then my formula is going to be that my perimeter is A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus G plus H plus I plus J. So many sides. And every single one of those is 10. So it's going to be 10 plus 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 10. So many 10s. Plus 10 plus 10. Or there were 10 of them, so 10 10s. Okay, if I add them all up, I get 100. So I get that the perimeter is 100 FT. Now FT is an imperial measurement and it stands for feet. So that is 100 feet. So my perimeter of my shape is 100 feet. Okay, that's going to be it for this part of the video. I will see you in the next one to take a look at the next question.